The following video is going to concern Rust Legacy that was distributed through Steam from 2013 Christmas to 2016 Christmas time. Created originally by Facepunch. In the years since it came out, modifications have been made a lot to it, making sure that they didn't break the game or give people too many advantages, all the way up to making it to where you could cheat with them. Because it's been removed, officially and directly anyway, from Steam, and because Facepunch doesn't seem interested in claiming copyrights or pirate accusations, the product has been available as a bit of abandonware for a long time. I do videos where I review people's repacks and rebuilds of this game from the original files that were and may still be able to be downloaded using a command line tool from Steam's distribution system, or not, I don't know yet. And I'm going to be talking about two of them, one very significant and new to these alters or mods, and also one that died on the vine. Let's start with the dead one. This will be an obituary for the 2017 planetrust.net legacy server and client. It had the following functions when you went on their specific server, and because any server can be configured this way, and the client had various capabilities I don't know about because I can't find a downloadable copy. If you know of one, please give a comment below where I could find a download for it that's different than the one I already have. The download is dead, the page is gone, etc. So let's go. Features included share, unshare, sethome, home, kit or kits, addfriend, unfriend or remove friend, TPR and TPA for teleportation, remove, which is a feature for removing things from the environment that you are the creator of or the person who's taking control over, listing players, or you could have online or player functions on others, damage and knock. You could see who the door owner was and or knock on doors, which wasn't available originally in the game. Although you could do it if you just took out a tool and gave the door a whack. The web, this all was done through Oxide, and the website itself used the following bits of information to identify itself uniquely. A paper street address, and that's rather odd. It was one that looks really legit, but it is impossible to find because it points to just a random location somewhere on the earth as a placeholder or a fake placeholder for making a website. So it's probably just came with a website kit. And it included a Skype and Gmail listing openly available that lead either to directly to individuals or totally off the mark. See also web archive below for planetrust.net and every page under it, and a mega.nz download that won't work anymore, and a linking that the only other link they had, which was to Microsoft patches. There's no data for it. The only thing left over is how to connect to the server, which does not work currently and hasn't worked for a while. Net.connect, planetrust.zap2.org 28015, which is a standard port for setting up a generic server. Now, the YouTuber that did videos on it for the literal 1 year, actually less than a year, that this thing was available and a thing, 2017, include Desaz Able Mods 3199. That's it. And you can look up two ways to find those videos. And you can also look up my video on available Rust Legacy clients as of April 30th of this year. I'm going to do a follow-up to see how many have been lost or gained. This is a new one that I'm going to bring up next, but this is an old one that died that I never saw before. And it's an obvious, name for a project, Planet Rust. Next, birth announcement. A remodded version of rustuj.cz's offering for a Rust client. This one's called crimsonrust.eu. And just like rustuj.cz wastes resources by creating an entire server just to have as a penalty box or a no-no area for people showing up trying to go onto their server with anybody else's client at one time, crimsonrust.eu has a penalty box server. Now, of course, because it won't let you go there unless you use their branded, somewhat quasi-proprietary version of their rebuild, is it because they screwed up and broke the standards, or just like rustuj did originally in the before time, or is it just modded? And why is it listed under not modded under people who are listing it? If you're watching at rustlegacy.eu, it's modded. It requires a different version. I don't think it'll run with rustuj. Next, where is their penalty box? I'll bring this up in a minute because we can have fun here. Trust me. But anyway, net.connect crimsonrust.eu :28015 is what you're supposed to use. It's not an IP address, it's a domain name with a port number. The part after the colon is the port number. An IP address may be associated with crimsonrust.eu, but that may not be, what you want to type in. archive.is crimsonrust.eu to find all of their subpages that have exist, will exist, or whatever when they're archived. Same thing with archive.org with the asterisk at the end. The download for Crimson Rust's download for their client that makes it to where you can use this just one of these, but it'll also run on rustuj's server set because it's also using their server lister utility and API, is at drive.google.com file d/ and then a whole string of characters ending in 658 HT. Oh, excuse me. No, it just ending in, excuse me, wrong there. Ending in HBB. And this is the download for it. And when you remove the extra stuff like some patch files or notes or whatever, it works out to about the same size as most copies of Rust Legacy, the client. And it also has its own gs4u.net page for the server, which means it's listing with other places, not just on its own product. And again, if you run rustlegacy.eu, which is a quasi-universal version of the game client, it will list being able to go to that server, even though it won't. And again, I have a video on rustuj and its penalty box and demanding a newer compatible legacy client, which is kind of silly because this is a video game from, at most, 2016. So, yeah. Now, request for comment, request for information. Any of you who know of a way to trick any Rust client into working on any server by finding out what it wants as far as its communications, that'd be great. Because when you go to net.connect, crimsonrust.eu, and then a string of characters, some of the pages, or excuse me, some of the servers will use an extra colon and add 1 through 9 as if it's a sub port number or just as a pass to get through. Normal versions of Rust Legacy don't have the ability to pass that argument on. rustuj, Crimson Rust, and many other modern ones will. Whether this breaks a protocol or not, which is what I'm referring to, is not relevant. But it does seem to be that way. That also includes Rust Rome switching to that when originally they didn't do it. And I'm going to bring up a little bit of a rant. Originally, Rust Legacy started off with a server run by Facepunch, and it used a web page that would turn itself into a video game, a web game. And it had a lot more control over whether or not you could add something and inject it into the game engine, and also their server could be clotted up with people pretty quickly because it was only one server. We now have anywhere from, when we're really lucky, 30 servers, but normally every week we have less than 10 servers on the entire internet that we can do the game on. Concentrating the effort onto one server isn't practical either. We need to have the following, and this is the mild proposal. A server decides to be a player versus environment, which means players can't shoot each other. You can only go hunting, maybe we'll add fishing later, whatever. But you can't attack each other or blow up each other's buildings. Balance that any way you want to. We need a server that is completely generic. No enhancements, no instant crafting, no goodies. It's just the game. We need the same thing at the same time for Rust Legacy 2013 because it's a very different experience. And all of them that are for modern Rust legacy should be completely compatible back and forth so that we don't have to download yet another client unless it's for a very good mod. Most of these are not for a very good mod. They're to keep people on one server. Now that has a benefit to it. If there's fewer servers but they're better, we have more players on the server. Right now, it's practically a single-player game, depending on what server you go to. And because they're not completely generic or completely locked down, they're always halfway in the middle, you have a variety of environments to choose from, which sounds like a good idea. But it does mean that when I go to some servers, I'm not allowed to build in certain spots because they arbitrarily decided you can't build within a meter or 3 feet of a rock, because they're presuming you're going to warp into a rock and then build in the rock. Okay. Other servers, you can build in a rock. You can box jump. You can almost, but not quite, fly and teleport in ways that are brutally unpleasant. And then finally, the anti-cheat routines from 2012, yes, that's when they were built, are broken and make it to where the game kicks you for no good reason a lot more often than it needs to, and the lag problems are still there. The way I found running a server on my own computer to reduce it, not eliminate it, was to turn off all of the cheat detection and all of the suspected cheater behaviors so it just didn't waste processor time on it. And 2, refuse to kick anybody. I turned off every bit of protections on it. That's the only way I can get the thing to run at a reasonable rate. And it still hiccups once in a while. But it's nowhere bad enough that it literally teleports me into a rock and I get stuck or I die, or it kicks me off map. I've had that happen on so many servers that it's absolutely brutally annoying. The game engine was figured out a long time ago, and they figured out with the limitations it had in about 2014, they would just start over and build a brand new game, which is the current version of Rust called Rust Experimental, which keeps evolving because they keep making it better. Anyway, that's my little rant for the day on it. And again, we have an old dead one from 2017 and Planet Rust that I'm bringing up, an obituary, and a quasi-birth announcement of a brand new server and maybe a different server type of activity on crimsonrust.eu. Now for the reveal. The penalty box server that we could go mob. Rust, load it, net.connect space 145.239.133.98:28015. When you teleport in, it says no matter what no matter what Rust Legacy client you're using, as long as it's Rust Legacy, it says you have the wrong client, and you can sit there. This means that, by definition, it's a universal server that could be useful for everybody. The thing is, if you try to move off of the spot it puts you, you get teleported back to that spot. So for funsies, a bunch of you could just decide to use that, show up there, turn on your voice chat, and talk to each other, and just annoy the server owner by having all of you show up. Now, that is for the one for Crimson Rust. Now, there's also one for rustuj.cz. I can't find it right now. I lost my note for it, so I'm going to go look for it again. I'll add it to the video's description later on. Maybe I'll put it up in a thumbnail with it, and that'll update it too. But as of now, there's an entire server being wasted that, by definition, has to work with every version, just about, including all the mod versions, which would make it more useful than the Rust Crimson Rust's normal server, because it would let more of the clients in. Don't know. And again, I agree with the idea of us having one server for the 2013 version and one server for everything after 2014 that would be universal, hint, hint, where we could go and putter around and just have most of the players be there. At any one time, there's less than 20 players. You could even set the limit at 50 and probably accommodate for everybody who plays the game on Earth. Your server could be the best on Earth, but you'd have to turn off most of, if not all of, the built-in anti-cheats, which don't really work at all anymore, and just use a different anti-cheat system that makes it to where it doesn't cause lag, and it does keep people off who are cheating. That's all. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Let's hope that these 3 types of servers and 3 individual servers become dominant. Bye.